Pasha, man, what are you doing? I appreciate you being on the show today.
I love being here. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you so much.
Man, you're out in Walmart world. Is like what I like to call it, out in Bentonville, Arkansas. I got some good friends who live out that way.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love it here. Northeast Arkansas, baby.
And it is absolutely booming too, which is crazy. It's like, yeah, people knew who Bentonville was because of Walmart, but you look
Right.
today and everything, not just Walmart, but everything is completely exploding around there.
100%, 100%. It's mainly because there's been a lot of attention specifically for like we're going to have a new home office for Fortune One company, aka Walmart here, and they're going to bring a lot of talent here. We're really excited about that. This project is about to be done by 2025, but if I'm not mistaken, it's like an $8 billion real estate project, just one home
Wow.
office. So it's going to bring a lot of people here, and at the same time, like they're really focusing on turning this place into like the mountain biking sort of like center of the United States, and we're really excited about this. We've already seen a lot of changes going, just before our eyes. We've seen like homes that you could barely probably sell for $100,000 and now going for like $1 million, which is like crazy.
Wow.
Like 10 years, but there are very few of them. Not all of them, but they're like very. But you know what I mean. Like I think booming, definitely a booming economy. And we're really happy about it.
That is amazing. And you mentioned, the homes that have absolutely exploded in value, which does not happen all the time, does not happen everywhere. But I saw an interesting statistic the other day. There was a graph that was put out, and since 1942, so if my math is right, I think that's 71 years from the time of this recording in 2023, real estate has only, how many is it? Is it 30?
Like almost 80 years since 19. Did
Okay,
you say
80. Okay, cool. I
1942?
can't do math. Look, I'm from South Carolina. I use a calculator and I don't have one
All
on
right.
hand. So, how many years it is, I trust you a lot more than I trust me. But the point being is, it is a lot of years. 1942 since today. There have only been 7 years during that time span where real estate stayed stagnant or went down in value. And five of those 7 years where it stayed stagnant or went down in value were during the recession in '08 and '09.
Yep.
And so if that doesn't tell you the power of real estate, are you guaranteed to buy it and it boom like some of the houses that Pasha talked about in Bentonville, Arkansas in 2 or 3 years? No. But if you go pull a graph, literally everybody go Google a graph of real estate home values over the last 100 years, you're going to see a graph that goes like this. And it
Yep.
is a powerful asset once you get into it. And you never know. You can't get lucky, quote unquote, and hit the home runs with those big appreciating properties unless you're in the game. So you can sit on the sidelines and say, oh, well, you bought at the right time. Heck yeah, I bought. You didn't. So sorry for
I
you.
love
I'm
that.
chilling now. Like,
I
you
love
should have
that.
stayed on the
But
sideline. So,
you know
anyways, don't
that
know how we got into that rant this early on.
Yeah, that's such a good thing that you mentioned right there. I think a lot of people by default think like getting rich is something that you do like, by buying a lottery ticket or like you buy a stock and then it becomes like 10 times and then you sell it like, the next day. Sure. That's the glamorous, that's the one that there are a lot of glitters around it and there are a lot of spotlights on it. But in reality, the wealth is being built like one brick at a time. No puns
That's so
intended.
good.
And it really is like, like real estate. And I always go back to this like, hey guys, look, we all know we have a government that is probably not I mean, you can be either side of, the political agenda or whatever, but we can all agree, I guess, that our government is not the smartest, what is it called? Like the sharpest tool in the shed, right?
Yep.
And usually when they face a problem, do they really fix the problem or do they print money?
Mm,
I would say they would probably print money. So
yes.
if you can buy a home with money today and you are responsible to pay back money in future that we know they're gonna print more of that, I would say do that all day long. And that's one of the reasons that you see like as you mentioned, like going in higher in value and value and value and all of that. And there are so many other discussions that we can have around like why real estate has been a stellar in all different type of assets. And it's just one of those things that as you mentioned, you can never guarantee anything. It's never gonna be like glamorous and happen all in like one year or two. But over the long run, I mean, it's just irrefutable that you're going to be like in good hands financially.
You bring up a good point. Our government loves to print money. I mean, look at the inflation right now. And when money
Mhm.
is printed, like you stated, assets go up. Assets go up in value as money is printed. And I can promise you guys, they're not going to stop printing money. It's not going to stop.
Most
It's only going to
likely.
continue. And so
Yeah.
in my eyes, it's going to expedite the rate at which home values rise. I think personally, I think 2024, 2025, maybe into 2026, real estate is about to explode. And here's my opinion on why that's going to happen. The market slowed down because rates are higher right now. But if you
Sure.
look at basic economics, supply and demand, I think we're 6.5 million houses short of where we need to be for supply. Supply and demand is the engine for economics. And so what's going to happen is next year's an election year. Grandpa Joe does not want to not get reelected. He wants to get reelected again, whether it was him, whether it be Donald Trump, Obama, Bush, they would all do the same thing. So I'm not just picking on Joe Biden. They want to stay in office. That's a pretty darn good life. Well, do you
Yeah.
think 8% interest rates and crazy inflation is going to help him get reelected? Probably not. So what if you were a betting person, what can you bet is going to happen in 2024 as we get closer to the election? Those rates are going to stop or those rates are going to drop. And when those rates start coming down and people are used to seeing 8 and now we're at 6, all of a sudden real estate is affordable again from a debt perspective. And what that's going to cause is people start buying again and then boom, price is going to rise. And so if you own your personal home, you have a very good opportunity to make some good money here in the next couple of years. But imagine if you owned 10 homes, 20 homes, 30 homes,
Exactly.
or like Pasha, 67 doors. What do you think is going to happen to somebody's life financially when they own that many properties and we're sitting in this bubble to where we're about to see most likely a lot of appreciation, not to mention rents continue to go up, tenants are paying down your debt. And so I'm super excited for the future, but I'm more excited for your story because how you
Thanks.
got into real estate is very interesting. And you're crushing it today. You did, and you're doing what I love. You're leveraging the W 2. I think it's the smartest way to buy real estate. You've grown to 67 doors. Maybe that's not exact today. You can let us know, but the point is you bought a lot of real estate. But tell everybody, because you kind of gave me a little sneak peek behind the curtain before we started,
Yeah, sure.
your journey to actually starting in this industry.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll try to make it short because I know your audience is really more interested to know like the ins and outs of like different strategies for real estate. But I think that helped me a lot to navigate my way through basically real estate, and I hope this helps other people as well. I was the perfect employee, like circa 2019. I was the perfect employee, meaning wake up at 8, go to work, come back at 5, and hoping for the raise and all of that. And I actually did. I was like getting promotion every year and all of that. And I remember my wife and I, we've been always super conservative when it was coming to risk and taking actions on risk. And we always thought like the worst case scenario that can happen to us is if I actually lose my job. And we were like, okay, what if we actually have like a reserve? The worst case scenario in for us was what if we can't pay the mortgage and we get foreclosed on, and oh, that's a big thing. So we were like, okay, what if we actually stack up like 6 months of living expense, and then whenever the worst case scenario, which is me getting laid off, happens, then I can find another job. Now, in my country, another context that you need for this story is that in my country, every adult male more than 18 years old, they need to do military service. It's mandatory, and you need to do it for 2 years, unless you're a student. And I was like, I never wanted to spend 2 years of my life, guarding a post or something stupid. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. So I actually started doing my PhD here in University of Arkansas. Because I was a student, I didn't have to do this, so I left the country and I actually never went back. Which kind of sucks because you miss your friends and family and home and good food and everything for 10 years, and it's not that awesome. But I was like, whatever, I'm not gonna do that for 2 years of wasting my time. then they came up with this like new regulation, which is like, hey, you can pay us a little bit of money, and then you can just come over for 3 months, hang around, and leave, and you don't have to do this whole thing. I was like, cool, that's a sweet deal. So I went back home. There was a fine print though that was saying if there is war, you will get drafted if you're inside the country. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I was going there, I was chilling, dude. 3 days after I got there, after like I think it was 8 years by then. After I got home, I was still jet lagged and everything, but I read the news and there was a drone attack that killed a top military general. It was right before COVID, so it was a big deal back then. I was like, oh crap, like that's
Oh
not gonna be
my
good.
gosh.
It wasn't good. So they were saying, "Oh, we're gonna retaliate." It was actually done by U.S. Army, and then Trump was saying, "Hey guys, if you do anything crazy, like if you retaliate, there's gonna be full invasion war." So there were a lot of big talk in the air. And my wife was here in the United States, so she calls me and she's like, "Dude, get the hell out of there. It's
Yeah.
not like don't waste your time." I was like, heck no, I just got here. Like I spent $2,000 to get here. Nobody's gonna go to war with the United States. I mean, that's the biggest army on the planet. You just don't, declare war like that. These are all just for propaganda purposes. I'm just gonna enjoy my time here. Nothing's gonna happen. And she was like, no, you need to do something. I was like, nah, we good. And then, like a week later, I guess, my phone was ringing over and over, like, it was like 1 a.m. or something. And I picked up, it was my wife. And she's like, they actually started like a missile launch and they attacked one of the US base in Iraq. And there's going to be war announced in the next couple of hours. So you better get the hell out. I checked the news, she was right. And I was like, oh, shoot, like apparently this is
Oh
going to happen.
no.
And worse than that, if there is a war, I will be drafted to be in front of
Oh
U.S. Army.
my gosh. That is
You do not,
crazy.
you do not want to be in that position. I was like, oh shoot, I need to leave. So I remember I didn't even say goodbye to my parents because I didn't want to waste more time. I took one pair of underpants. I remember a couple of credit cards, my passport, put them all into a backpack, and I just check all the airports around me. All of them are shut down because when there's a speculation of war, all the commercial flights obviously are shut down. There was one airport that was working. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get to it. It was like a couple of hours away, but I was like, that's fine. I'm gonna get to it, right? So we get a cab. There's a bigger story there too, but I just get to the airport. I get to the plane that I wanted to leave with, and that actually I couldn't get to that plane. That plane already left. There were not a lot of flights flying from there. In general, you don't see a lot of flights in my country, but like international flights. But I got to the next one, which was leaving, and I was like, good. As long as I'm out of the border, I'm good. Then I can find my way back home. And I get to the plane, dude. I was checking my phone to see like if the war is announced, if I still can't leave without any issue. And I saw news that shocked me to the core. The previous plane that left the same airport, same exact direction, unfortunately, it was shot down by two missiles, and 176 people died right on the spot. Like,
Oh
just
my
basically just 20
gosh.
miles away from me. I'm from the same, and there were no idea, like, there was nothing in the air. Like, they didn't know why that happened. There were just some videos of showing, like, some missiles going and basically explosion. And now here I am, basically in an airplane, basically going the same direction. And I asked the flights, and I was like, "Are we sure we're good to go?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. It's like it was a technical difficulty." And I was like, "This video doesn't show a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
It seems like two missiles was technical difficulty." I was like, "No, we're good." And then I was like, "Okay, what if this is really my last 30 minutes of my life? What am I gonna do with it? What can I do?" So back then, I was the only one who was the breadwinner for the family, and I was handling all the financials and everything. I knew that my wife was sick worried, so I didn't want to just make everything more complicated. So I scheduled an email for 2 weeks, and I was like, "Honey, I love you, but I don't have a lot of battery charge, so I need to tell you this." Like, here's our username and password to this bank. Here's our cryptocurrency wallet. Here's our like 401k and all of that. And I scheduled the email for 2 weeks because it was like, if I make it, then I can cancel it, then and I can basically go
Mhm.
make a sick word. If not, 2 weeks is probably good enough for her to be kind of, come back and check her emails again. So I scheduled that email, and then my phone died. But and when you're in plane, it's so hard to do anything. Like, internet connections are not good and everything. And it was a lot of difficulty. And I was like, wait a minute, I live 35 years, and this is all I'm leaving behind. It's like 30 something thousand dollars. That's it. And this is going to be basically probably 8, maybe 10 months of living expense. And that's it. And then after that, what is she supposed to do? Like, sell the house, or what's she gonna do? Like, there's nothing left. And that's when, Jared, it actually hit me, which was the worst case scenario wasn't me losing a job and being laid off. The worst case scenario was me not being around, so not having time
Mhm.
to convert to money for my family to bring it as an income. And I was so pissed at myself that I was so naive that I always thought that I will live forever. Your life is not promised to you. Nobody promised your next day, let alone next second. Nothing. Like, you don't. You can. Anybody can die at any moment. And I just had this mindset of, oh, I can just work all day long and I can provide for my family. But then I realized, I remember riding in the plane, I realized I needed to have a box. I didn't even know what it was, but I needed to have a box that is a separate entity that I am, that generates money on its own, regardless of whether I'm there or not. And obviously, building that box needs a lot of commitment and a lot of work and other thing. But I realized I was using my prime years of my life, my young years, of building someone's box bigger than, instead of building my own box.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I just hated myself for not doing it. I knew I had it in me. I always knew that I could do something. I could start my own company. I knew that I wanted to do it. I just never did it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my job. As you mentioned, I still work for my W-2 job, and I love it. But I just realized that I needed to have like a separate box that generates all of that. I got off of the plane and I was a different person. I was like, I need to research it. I need to know how I can do something like this. Um, Soon I realized that real estate is actually what can basically be that box, something that you will buy and it will generate the income. And then right then COVID hit. So going back to what you mentioned earlier, uh, there's always something missing. There's always
Mm.
something that makes it difficult to buy a property. Maybe the rates are high. Maybe the inventory is low. Back then, there were a lot of inventory, and the interest rates were low too. But COVID was about to hit. Like, everybody was shutting down. Everybody was panicking. And I remember I was like trying to find a house to buy for investment. And my friends were like, "Are you nuts? Like, the whole world is, collapsing, going upside and down." I was like, "I don't care. I got a second chance. I want to build the box." And we actually bought a. I didn't even know what off market was. I was just searching Zillow. I wrote a software that was scraping Zillow for me, like 24/7. There was a duplex that came to market at 11:30 p.m. My bot picked it up at 11:37, analyzed it, realized it actually meets my criteria, sent it to me, and I sent a note to my agent at 7, and I was like, "I want you to send an offer, and it needs to expire in 2 hours because I don't want it to go to bidding war. I'm going to offer them $3,000 more as is, no contingency, nothing. I'm just going to buy it for $3,000 more," and they accepted it.
Wow.
It was such a smoking deal, man. I'm telling you. Uh, we bought it for two. It was listed for 248. We offered 240. Sorry, 245. We offered for 248 as is, and they were just focusing on as is, not the price. So they were like, we can't do any repair. I was like, "That's fine, don't worry about it. I got it." And my wife and I just started doing the renovations ourselves. Like, dude, I such a distant person from real estate. Like, I'm a coder. My job is like, going to a cave and come back with a software. This was different. Like I needed to know how to paint. I remember I nerded the heck out of it. Like I watched 3 videos on how to wash a paintbrush. I looked, how to do like, the corner. And then one of my friends that was doing real estate was like, dude, just do it. Like it's not like a code that it needs to be perfect. Just go ahead, just paint it. If it's bad, you can paint it again. And we actually spent about $50,000, if I'm not mistaken, to fix that place. And it was appraised for $600,000. Well, first it was appraised for 450, and
Jeez.
then 600. We got it rented, and I remember I still have the picture. I was actually telling one of my friends the other day. The first tenant that came in, I asked her to pay the rent and 2 months deposit. And I remember she was like, "Can I pay cash?" I was like, "Sure, you can." So I got the cash, we signed the contract. I came back to car. I know this is really silly, but to me it was a big deal. I still have the picture of all of that cash, like those rappers that shows like they show their money like this. I
Oh
was
yeah.
doing the last thing like that and took a picture of it. It was like, this is the first money that the box created, and there's going to be way more of this.
I
But it was,
remember to hit on that personally. I remember my first, and I should have taken money or I should have taken a picture with my money. I didn't, but I remember that feeling from that first real estate deal I ever bought, the first rental, getting that check. It was the first thing in my life that I ever bought that actually paid me.
yeah,
And you're just
exactly
like,
right.
bro, this is magic.
This is a
What is
house
going
though.
on here?
Exactly. Exactly. You're like, wait a minute. I have this house is still mine, right? Right. And it is giving me money too, and it's going to high in value. Like, what? And it was just
Crazy.
like, yeah, but it's one of those things that you need to do it to be like, oh, I'm hooked now, and I need to do
Yep.
the next one.
It's got to
So
become tangible. It's theory
exactly.
until you touch it. And then once you grasp a hold of that for the first time, you're hooked. Are you struggling to manage your real estate business across multiple spreadsheets, tools that aren't connected, and a banking solution that's not built for your needs? You need a partner like Baselane. You need a simple yet powerful platform to manage your rental property business. Baselane is the #1 banking platform built for real estate investors. It's business checking, online rent collection, bookkeeping, tax reporting, analytics, and more, all in one place. With Baselane, start automating your rental business finances and say goodbye to countless hours of busy work while taking control of your rental property finances to reduce expenses and increase your rental income. Join more than 40,000 real estate investors who trust Baselane to manage your rental property finance with confidence. Open an account in minutes. It's that fast. Head over to baselane.com/cowboy and sign up for the chance to win a $500 Amazon gift card. That's baselane.com/cowboy, COWBOY. And you're going to be entered into a raffle for the opportunity to win a $500 Amazon gift card. Go sign up today. And then
Sure.
it's just, man, how do I find the next one and the next one and the next one?
Exactly.
Which you obviously did. And I want to talk about how you scaled in your systems because I know you have really good systems in place that are going to be able to help our listeners. But I want to touch on one point that you brought up where you mentioned that it's never the right time to buy real estate. Hardly ever do the stars align. I remember when I bought my first property in 2018, people were saying it's not a good time to buy.
Wow.
2019, not a good time to buy. 2020 with COVID, terrible time to buy. 2021, bad time to buy. 2022, bad time to buy. 2023, interest rates are up, bad time to buy. For my entire investing career, the naysayers have been saying, don't buy right now. And if you continue listening to them, you're going to continue delaying wealth, and that's opportunity cost. Imagine what your life would be like today if you would have started buying in 2020. Okay. Are you a
Wow.
little depressed? Maybe so. Sorry. Don't mean to take you down that dark road. The good thing is you can start today so that when it's 2026, you look back and you're saying, dang,
About the
I am
two
so glad
and
I started in 2023. And I wish I would have started earlier because I still tell myself, I'm like, man, I wish I could have started before 2018. But I guarantee I've listened to podcasts of guys who started way back in the day after the recession. Terrible time to buy in 13, terrible time to buy in 14. Like, those people are broke. Don't take money advice from broke people. Go listen to guys like myself, Pasha, all the other people who are dabbling in real estate and their lives are changed, and go buy. It's never, the stars are never going to align.
100%, 100%. And a lot of people forget about the whole context, I guess. Like back in 2020, like a lot of people are like, oh man, I wish I bought in 2020. I was like, yeah, but back then people were also talking about, oh, COVID is on the corner, everything's going to go upside down. Back in 2018, there was a big talk about reverse, what's it called, reverse ratio or something like that, which is a big indicator of economy collapse or something like that.
Oh,
Like
the
there's always,
inverted,
yeah,
yeah, the
inverted ratio,
inverted
yeah,
whatever,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
talking about that today. They're
Yeah,
still
they're
talking
talking about
about
it
that
today.
today.
Right, exactly. And they're like, oh, no, no, no. Because you know what, Jan? People think of real estate, and that's okay. I'm pretty sure you and I used to do this too. We
Yep.
think, by default, we think about real estate like a stock market. That's the issue.
Yeah.
We think you need to buy low and sell high. Obviously, everything you can have this one buy low and sell high and make profit. But the difference between asset that generates money is this, is that as long as this thing can take care of itself,
Mhm.
and you have what, yeah, you have W2, which is cherry on top, which basically makes sure that this just doesn't go under the water. You can just pass through every wave that comes at you. If everything goes to the worst, as long as you can make the payment, guess what? This is yours. Nobody's taking it away. This is just a
Yep.
number on the paper. But when it goes high, that's where you can actually just be like, hey, I wanna actually use this to pay for it. And a lot of people miss that. You can't do that with stocks. You can't, like, stocks, those that give you dividend are not that great. This is completely different. You can add value to it. You actually have control. You can. I mean, this is what we did. We converted one of the garages. We added a square foot, and that alone means you actually force appreciation. In
Mhm.
our apartment complexes that we just acquired, it's 47 unit. That's basically what you do. You basically go in there, realize where are the areas that you can actually make a difference.
Yep.
For us, it was systematizing everything. So instead of paying somebody to go knock on every door and get the money, and then have another person to go and basically do your repair, and no control on the repair, no control on the inventory, no, making money out of the like the laundromat or anything like that. These are the things that you can change, and you actually add value to it, and that value
Yeah.
directly correlates with the total value of that building and portfolio that you have. I mean, that's awesome. I
Oh,
really want to make, you know,
it's unbelievable. I always say there's 6 core pillars. Hopefully I can remember them. That literally, when combined, is the greatest concoction known to man. And these 6 pillars are found in real estate. You got leverage, so we're going to use somebody else's to buy money to buy a property. Number 2, we got appreciation, which just means, like we talked about earlier, it's going to go up in value over time based on historical data. 3, what you just mentioned, we can do what's called forced appreciation. It's just a fancy word for saying we're going to take something ugly, we're going to make it pretty, and now it's going to be worth a lot more. And it is an insane hack when it comes to real estate. Then we have tenants that are paying down our debt for us. So we bought it with somebody else's money, so there's a mortgage on it. Well, then somebody else is going to pay off that mortgage. It's insane. And then we're going to get cash flow. So after that tenant pays off your mortgage payment and everything else and all your other expenses, all the leftover is going into your bank account. And then last, you get insane tax benefits that you don't get from anywhere else.
that's
And when
awesome.
those 6 are combined, oh my gosh. I mean, you're living it right now. It is crazy. It's almost
It's
like a
life
cheat code.
changing. Exactly. Dude, I love that because it's like you found a cheat code that's been out there forever. And I just, as you mentioned, I just hated myself that I didn't start it earlier. That's all. But
Yeah. You're doing
it's
pretty
hard.
good. You're
Yeah,
doing pretty
thanks. I
darn
appreciate
good now. You've scaled to
it. Thank you.
67 units. And
Thank you.
and I think
Appreciate it.
it'd be cool for everybody to hear those systems that you have put into place to do so, because um, a lot of people get overwhelmed with the first purchase. It's scary. You're having to overcome limiting beliefs, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. But then once you do it, you feel really good about yourself and you kind of start seeing the writing on the wall. But then you go to your next challenge is, how do I scale this without it getting out of control and overwhelming me?
Exactly. That's exactly what I think my background came in. And that's just a very quick side note. That's what I recommend everybody to go back into their winning cards. Everybody has some winning cards in different areas, and see how you can actually bring it to the game that you want to be better at.
Mm.
For me, it was I designed systems and software for top companies for more than 10 years, and it was like I need to. I'm pretty sure I can use that to do whatever I'm doing right now. So the very first thing that we did when we actually owned the property was like, okay, let's go hire a property manager. And then when I looked into
Mhm.
what they do and how they do it, it was like, I'm pretty sure I can do it better. But I don't want to be the one who receives the phone call, at midnight to go, plunge a toilet or something like that. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so what are the things that I need for my to hire a property manager? And the big items was like finding a tenant, going through contract and everything, making sure that they take care of maintenance, and then the last one was basically making sure that they report to us and they make the whole bookkeeping easier. I was like, okay, what if I break these down into different pieces and see if I can actually tackle them myself? And that's exactly what we did. So the first one was finding a tenant, and I realized if I want to have a property management system, I need to make sure that it doesn't bring me into it at all. So we created a property management firm that only catered to us, but we paid that company to make sure that we our numbers are always good, and we can always switch back to an external property manager if we need to. But the first thing was how to basically show a property and basically find a good tenant. And it was just basically punch list, man. That's what it was. We found a person, basically a boot on the ground. We hired a virtual assistant from Central America that can also speak Spanish, and it's also the time, but it's great. And they communicate to each other. So whenever the unit is empty, we send, like, again, checklist. We send somebody there, takes picture, make sure the damages are bad or not. Whatever it is, we're gonna deduct it from the previous tenant, and then we bring a cleaning person to clean the area. Then we bring let me see if I actually have one of them to show you. Actually, all of them are out usually. Well, no, I've got this one. Then we have like little gadgets like this, which is like the hotspot. So we bring internet, and then we bring cameras in place. These are the cameras that are basically fixed and everything. Not fixed, like you can actually turn around and everything. So you'd be able to
Mhm.
set it right. So we put these cameras, we connect it to this. I mean, I'm not the one doing it. I pay somebody $4 an hour to coordinate all of that.
Wow.
$4 an hour is a lot for them. And then we have a boots on the ground here that does all of this. And then we have a keypad on the door. And basically, we advertise it on Zillow, Facebook, and everything. And everybody who's interested in it, and they have because we always tell them, I mean, there's some nonsense to it, but we always tell them, like, what are the different type of tenancies that we want. And then they go to the unit, they look at it, and if they like it, they can apply. And if they apply for it, and if it's all good, we basically approve them. We set them in Rent Ready, which is an app that we use. There are so many different
Mhm.
CRMs. They don't have to use it, but we use that, and they basically sign the contract again, completely virtually, and they move in. Something breaks, they submit a ticket. Again, my coordinator gets with the handyman or the right person. Uh, I actually build a long list of, if something breaks, like if that is broken, walk the tenant through these steps first, because a lot of time we can actually have the tenant to fix the stuff, which means the tenant is going to be happier. We're going to be happier because we didn't spend time and money on it. And
Exactly.
and if it's like not that, then all right. Now, if this is the problem, hire this type of position, for example, plumber, and then we have a list of plumbers ranked from best to worst that they need to go through and basically first call the first one if they're not available, second one, third one, seventh, all that one. Send somebody, get the job done. They send the invoice to us. My transaction coordinator basically puts everything into a daily report, and all I do is basically check my email every night. There's a daily report that has everything into it, and every 2 weeks I've got a person that basically just pay all of those invoices, and that's it. It's like you don't.
Easy.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's sometimes we got some crazy stuff coming out for sure, but like basically just understanding what are the things, what are the anomaly, what are the uncertainty, what are the routine things that happen, and then put them all into one package and basically create a flow chart of how this should be taken care of and teach somebody how to do it and pay them to do it for you. And now my percentage wise, running my properties run somewhere between 1.7% to 2.5% of my gross revenue instead of paying somebody
Wow.
10%, right? And that additional cash flow is the one that helps us buy more properties.
Yeah.
Uh, right? We actually just bought another property. We are going to we bought a property, we flipped it, we sold it. We're actually going to close on another one tomorrow, and that's exactly how we did it. My property management firm revenue is actually buying this property, which is insane because
That's
I just wanted to
crazy.
make sure that the money that we're saving is actually worth something. I was like, seems like it is. Now we actually have one extra home because of that. And I think it all goes back into what is important to you and systematize it. My focus is systematize it. Maybe some
Yeah.
people, other people not, but it's like this is what's important to me. Cash flow is important to me. This is how I can actually leverage my cash flow by building systems, hiring people, and taking it from there. So
I don't think people understand or grasp. I don't say people. People who haven't ran a business before, it's hard to grasp the power of systems. Like I spent my
exactly.
life in a W-2 where I was in a sales role. Like you don't have sales is like the least systematized division
Oh
of
yeah,
any
it's
company.
true,
It's like, bro, wake
true,
up and go close deals. They're
true.
always like, oh, your forecast is late. This is like they try to put systems in place for us. But it's like
Nah,
they can't. As long as we're selling, they're not going to like slap us on the hand too hard.
true, true.
And so I come from that background. That's not my strength. I just want to go out and like get the deal done.
Yeah.
Close a customer, whatever else. But as I have grown our business, we got 5 full-time employees at Finance Cowboy now, and 3 part-time. I believe that's right. Maybe a few more. And I didn't have them when I first started. And it's
Mm,
chaos. If you have an operation without structure, you're going to fail. And so we still to this day are working on our it's a work in progress. We have someone who like literally helps us with that, like building
mm,
out what each person's role is and having commitment charts, and everybody knows what the long-term vision, mid-term vision, short-term vision is. And then we have these are our quarterly projects that we're working. Like you have to have those things in place if you're, especially in the real estate space, if you're going to self-manage, but not even self-manage. Like there should be systems for finding deals. There should be systems for
yeah.
analyzing deals. There should be systems for, managing the property once you got it. And if you can take a page out of Pasha's playbook and implement this as you either start your real estate journey or you scale in your real estate journey, then it's going to open opportunities for you. I mean, myself, I have not taken the time, I'll be completely honest, on the management side to put my own systems in place in our portfolio yet. It's
Mm,
straight laziness. I don't even want to say laziness. It's priorities. I've
true.
had other priorities where I haven't taken the time to do it. But because of that, just like you said, I'm paying 10% in property management. And so where you're making an extra, what, 7.5%, 8% on your each rental income, I'm losing that. And you literally just told a story about how you're closing on a property tomorrow because of
Yeah.
you took the time to systematize your business, and now you have extra cash flow, which then adds to more properties. And so kudos to you, man. I think everybody can take a page out of that, and myself included. It's something that we need to focus on as we progress because our portfolio is decently large, and there's a lot of money left on the table when you do that. So, what does your portfolio look like? Do you buy? It sounds like you buy out of state or out of town, not all just in Bentonville. Do you have a mix of multi, short term, long term, mid? Like, what's all that look like?
Uh, so to answer your question short, we actually have different range of properties like single family homes, multi-family homes, and bigger apartment complexes. That's actually where we are focusing more right now because as you mentioned, we realized, hey, wait a minute, we have a system to run this thing. Why are we going with smaller, targets? Let's actually go with bigger ones. But when it comes to like the different type of basically income, we started with long-term rental and then we added short-term rental to see how that works, and it actually works pretty great. But then we realized we might not want because I tried to systematize my short-term rental, and to some extent you can do it. I would say to 80% you can do it.
Yep.
But there's a 20% that is really goes back to hospitality management. Like
Yep.
that's where you need to like bend backwards and basically make sure that like we had a believe it or not, we had a guest that wanted a second doormat, and we were like, wait, what? And it was like, no, I want to have I have a feeling that I want to have two doormats. I mean, no system can have something like that. It's
No,
brand
dude. I had one call me
but
one time at an Airbnb saying that the fan didn't spin fast enough for him. The
now
fan
there
in
you
their
go.
master bed. I'm like, what? What are you like? What do you want me to do? Like, go buy you some WD 40? Like, what are we talking about here? You know what's interesting? I'll let you get back to it. I just want to take a dig at all the short term rental gurus on social media. They make it seem I have them. They're full of crap. This whole you can automate everything. Listen to me,
Yeah,
everybody. They are lying through their teeth. Can you automate the majority of stuff? 100%. But they're just, you said it perfectly, Pasha. There is a hospitality part of it that no matter what questions you answer in your description, you put in your guidebook directions to every restaurant, it does not matter. You
right.
will, on 90% of guests, get questions that maybe they're already answered in your
Yep,
description or guidebook, but they're going to ask you, and somebody has to answer that. So you either have to take time out of your day constantly, and it is pretty darn constant. Don't care what anybody
exactly,
says, or you're going to have to hire somebody to do it. And the problem is, we talked about 10% property management with long term rentals. You get into the short term rental space, you're looking at 20, 25, 30,
exactly,
35% of gross
exactly,
revenue for
exactly.
property management. So, anyways, sorry to go on that rant, but it
No,
needed to
no,
be said.
no, 100%. No, I loved it. And what you mentioned is really interesting is because something like property management, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just like 20%, 25%. That's awesome. That's 25% of your gross revenue. It's not
Yes,
25% of your profit. It's 25%
exactly.
of your gross. Sometimes they make more money on your property than you will make, than you're making,
They
right?
really do.
And I was going back to my numbers because that's exactly what happened to us. I was like, you know what? What if we actually sacrifice the extra income from the short-term rental and try the midterm rental?
Mhm.
So we actually pivoted to because we actually had these units furnished, right? So we pivoted toward the midterm rental, and then I worked with some of the construction companies that are working on specifically this big home office here, and we actually reached out to them proactively, like, hey, we know that you guys are probably looking for someplace safe and good for your construction workers to come here. We offer this with ease of access to everything. And dude, it's been amazing. It's
Wow.
been 100% great.
So
And
you're
now we
loving
just
the midterm.
oh,
You're
I
loving
love
midterm.
it, 100%.
Everybody I've talked to loves it. I actually have a unit right now to duplex. I got it gutted to it's gutted right now. We're about to rough in electrical. We got to put new HVAC. We got to do the whole thing. But I'm toying with the idea of it's like a mile from the hospital and a mile from the university. And so I'm toying with the idea of doing the midterm. But what everybody's told me is you want midterm to be usually double what you would get for long term after you factor in utilities you have to cover and all that good stuff. And I'm not quite there. So
Yeah,
I'm like teeter-tottering on this line. Like, do I want to spend the money to furnish it, pay
sure,
utilities, or do I
sure.
just take? Because I'd probably get like $1,000 a month as a long-term rental on each
Hmm.
side, or 1,500 as a midterm. And I'm like, I don't know if the margins are
Yeah,
there.
no, I don't. I wouldn't. Those numbers aren't that sexy to me either, unless you do something like 10 of them. When you do
Yes.
like 10 midterm rentals, now it's different because now you're talking about $5,000 more income. Well, actually,
Yeah.
in your case, it's going to be $10,000. And another thing that you can do is that I haven't done is going with like renting a room. So
Mhm.
basically trying to even, bring it up a notch. But it's again, it's one of those cases that you would, it's great because you don't have the hospitality management to it anymore. Like these are not people come here for leisure. People that come for leisure, they pay a little bit extra, but they also want to make sure that they have fun.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with people that are actually renting, it's okay to tell them, hey, if you don't like the fan, just buy an extra fan for yourself and just run it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't tell that to a guest. So, we actually do have, I think we've got 10 doors near a hospital too. And that was a plan for us. We were like, okay, we're just going to add more bedroom to it and basically furnish them and rent by room to the nurses near here. But like they were filled so fast by long-term rental that we were okay with lowering down our workload for like 20 30% reduction in revenue. So again, it
Yeah.
all goes back into like the big picture. I believe it's all everything goes back to your why.
Yeah.
Like going back to the story that I told you, my why was then crystal clear. Like I needed to have this thing to take care of everything that I loved and leave a legacy. It wasn't for me to leave my W two job. Maybe someone else is leaving your W two job. But at the end of the day, that just translates to whether you're going after cash flow, whether you're going for the higher number of doors, whether you're going for appreciation, whatever you're going for. And then you can actually just tie it down to the different practices of your business and the different strategies.
I love that. It's not a one size fits all. It's each person's at a different part of their journey. And where excuse me, Elizabeth, you can edit that out. And where you may start on your real estate journey isn't where you're going to end. You know, a lot of people start in the single family space, the smaller residential, and then they kind of graduate and they buy themselves a short term rental, or maybe they buy themselves a mobile home park or a smaller apartment complex. And then if they go all in, maybe they start raising capital and syndicating deals. And so there's no right or wrong way to get started. The key is decide what your why is, put a plan of action to go after it, put the blinders on and take off. Just take that step, because you're
Exactly.
never going to be able to grow into the life of your dreams without taking that step. And so everybody listening to this today, if you don't own real estate, you need to buy some. Let's go. Buy it. Let's go. And for
100%.
those of you who own a couple properties, let's bump it up. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. Pasha, man, I want to thank you for coming on. What a fantastic story.
Thank
You
you.
gave great insight. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this. Where can the listeners find you?
So I actually am actively talking about real estate systems. What are the gadgets and softwares and everything we use at Techie Real Estate on Instagram, which is TECHIE Real Estate, all in one word. And I would love to see you guys there.
Great. And we will put that link to his profile in the show notes for everybody listening to this, so you can go check him out. And if you are listening to this, take a screenshot and tag Pasha with his Instagram account he just mentioned at Techie Real Estate, and then myself at Finance Cowboy. We both love to tell you thank you for watching the show. Pasha, I appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.